Hey, I'm Arne, founder and CEO of AcademicLabs, and in this video, I'm going to show you as a BD, as someone who's doing prospecting to find customers within the CRO, within the CDMO, or the supplier of specialized lab equipment. How can you find the right customers? And we made it very easy to screen thousands of customers to find the right ones that fit your criteria. I'm going to walk you through a few steps how to do that in an easy way so you can repeat it yourself. So step one, if we go to the landing page, we can see all the data we have, can find groups, research and companies across academia and industry, and also any kind of research. Now, if I go to companies, you have an option to find preclinical therapeutic startups in just one click. So you find these 19,000 companies. You can go by a lot of other criteria, some quick filters, common use cases. You can go by territory, you can go by specific cities, or select countries on a world map, or we can immediately select Europe as a continent, for example. We see companies by submodality, linear synthetic peptides, etc., in vivo viral gene replacement, or the higher level, biologics, for example, and the same for therapeutic areas. So that's something you can filter by. Also, the number of employees, the small ones, typically 2 to 10, 11 to 50. That's a common approach to find these players. You can go by funding round as well, like seed or Series A, B. All these things are possible. Who are the main investors in those companies? How many portfolio companies, etc. Now, the most interesting part of AcademicLabs is you can be the search is very powerful. So if I search antibody drug conjugates, with these criteria, the preclinical companies of 2 to 50 employees, it will now search through a lot of information. Search through the website content of those companies, through their clinical trials, their projects, their patents, publications, and news. And then it identifies these 339 companies. I'm going to add a little bit of flexibility here. We call it a proximity search. So yeah, it doesn't have much impact in this query, but in some cases it can find much more companies. So what this allows is, let's say you have antibody and something else, drug conjugates. If there's 2 terms in between, it will also retrieve them. So that's a very good way to not miss out on interesting companies. Now you could actually now filter by, in the filters, we have here the option to say, okay, who has a patent on this? You can see it's really rising the number of companies with a patent on ADCs. Of course, it's small companies, so probably that they only recently have it. You could filter who are the companies with a patent on this, or with a publication on this, or in which kind of journal. So you can be like who published in Nature on the technology, etc. Who has a grant on this, you can also filter by them. But more importantly is, if you find companies, how can I assess them as easy as possible? Let's say we pick this Series A stage company in the UK. We get a summary of the profile based on ADC. So ADC will be searched in these 8 publications, 11 patents, 15 web pages, any news. It will search through all that information for ADC and make you a tailored summary. So you have an immediate understanding, what are they doing on ADCs? With always a reference here. So you can see the exact text it was using, source publication from 2023, and the title, it was an abstract at the conference. So you get a quick idea of what is this company doing. You can go to the pipeline page. Very soon we're going to add the pipeline data here on the profile, see who they received investment from, and so on. On the left side, you find the leadership, which we're going to expand. And then, yeah, it still has duplicates, so we work on removing duplicates. And then you have the option to get an email. You can say, find a verified email. Yes. You can also sometimes find the bio. And then in notifications, you get like the email for this one. I did it before earlier today. We started 20 different email finder solutions. So if there's an email in the web, we can find it. Now, in many cases, you want to know, this is a great fit as a customer. And why? Could we already maybe get a draft email? The answer to that is yes. So let's take an example. I'm going to do a new query. Let's say I'm one of the big companies, a big CDMO. Let's pick Lonza. So we do a search on the platform for Lonza. And then we go to the profile of Lonza. And then we ask anything. And there in Ask Anything, we can say, describe me the specific offerings, services, of Lonza for preclinical biotechs developing new drugs. I'm going specifically biologics, for example. Currently includes what makes Lonza unique. So we could have this analysis in advanced settings. I can say, just do my query for Lonza, or I let the AI decide to come up with a query based on what we fill in. Now, yeah, we could include that, so that's actually better. So it will now search for Lonza, or it's all these different things. I'm just gonna keep it a bit more simple. I just actually want to know this kind of information. That seems to be good. So I click on evaluate, and now it will search for all those search terms. So Lonza and all these other ones in those documents. So in these 48 web pages of Lonza, we search through. You have the clinical trials, the patents, project publications, news. So it picks the 10 most recent from each category. For the website, it picks the 10 best ones with the most matches. And then we have an AI model, one of the big players, the best players, that is analyzing all this data in a private, secure way. And then it gives me this information. Now, why is that helpful? Because I want the AI, I want to analyze potential customers to see how well does it fit with our offering. So I do copy. So I copy this information about what we, for example, if I would work at Lonza, but whatever company you work on, you search them on AcademicLabs, you do the simple question with ask anything. You ask, what are we offering? And then, especially in a certain context that you're responsible for. And then you can go to, let's say we're going back to this company, this preclinical company, and we go to customer fit and email. So I click here, and I can say, I'm going to paste it here. So I've tested this before, so I had already something, but here we go. It doesn't matter that it has these HTML elements. So what do you offer customers? So here's our offering. So I just copy paste it. How would you like to structure a tailored cold email? That's optional. So there's something here written by default, which you can, of course, adjust. I can save my input. So every time I want to visit the profile, it always knows you don't have to fill this information in again. So it does it for you. It remembers it. And then you could say, make this my default analysis. So the next time I visit the profile, it will automatically do it. And then the last step, advanced settings. I either let the AI, based on what I filled in, propose a query. So it then proposes this query, which seems to be okay, but then it has this and it doesn't work like with the asterisk. So that's something I would remove. So let's say I'm okay with that. You could also add your own query or just ADC. If you search for ADC, let's maybe just do that, ADC. So I was looking for that and I hit evaluate. So now it will immediately, it does again the analysis on the 10 most recent documents on each of those and the top 10 web pages, assess what we provided, and in less than a second, it said excellent fit. And then justify why, what's the core focus on ADCs, and so on. The preclinical data suggested this. So it gives you an idea of why it's a good potential ideal match for the proprietary capabilities and so on. And then a tailored cold email. I was excited to learn about your specific work on this and that. Kind of show that you see that they have robust data. So it's clearly not a cold template email you send to everyone. That's, I think, a very important point. It doesn't take any work from you to have immediately an understanding of or to communicate in a tailored. And then we have here something about Lonza and some call to action. Now, of course, you can put in any kind of framework for emails or give some example emails that you include that needs to use as well. So that's an example of how you could approach this. We could copy the email and reach out, could do an extra analysis and just check what are they doing on antibody drug conjugates, look at their most recent publication, for example, to see in 2024, what have they done, and so on, who was also involved in ADC therapeutics, e-therapeutics, and so on. So you can see who are the parties. You can also see what's on the website. So you can see any kind of mentions of ABCs. So we see any sentence where it's being mentioned, basically. What patterns do they have, etc. Researcher. And here you can get the email that I showed. Now, if I go to another profile, let's say I go back to search and I click on the next one, Spirea. It automatically now does the customer fit assessment. So I didn't have to do anything. I just go to the profile and it says excellent. Here again, it gives you an ID why and it gives you the email. So that's a very kind of interesting approach. You just go to the next profile. It does the assessment for you. You can lean back in a way and you find the key information. There's also another approach. You can just with ask anything. You can see it as well from within this video. So in ask anything, you can ask anything. You can even ask multiple questions, of course, within one question. So what I do here is one of the best practices is I ask multiple questions and number them. Question 1. Do you see signals that this company most likely will need a CDMO soon? Answer yes, no, or unclear. It also says here the CRO or whatever type of service you provide or solution. If yes, specify those signals. We're looking for signals. Based on our strengths and offers as described below. So I need to copy again this one here, or one of the offers. Paste it below. Or where it's just say, here's our offering. So then I say, so based on our strengths and offers as described below, how well does this company fit our offers? Answer, excellent fit, good fit, poor, and clear, and justify. Describe the stage of the company in one sentence. Describe the stage of the most advanced biologics assets, because we're really interested in biologics, in bullet points with modality, TA, and describe the scientific validation shortly. Any indication that they work with a CDMO already. Maybe it's on the website, maybe it's in use. Write 3 short, or maybe some other signals. Write 3 short cold emails. That's maybe already stretched, but let's see. Write me a short, tailored, compelling message that I can use on LinkedIn. And also each question on a separate line. So I can save this input. So next time, and this becomes my default analysis as well. So I don't have to click it anymore. And then you could say, also search on antibody drug conjugate or just on any antibody biologic drug and so on. So maybe that's better. Maybe ABC is something early in the pipeline, but they have something more advanced that is actually relevant. That is maybe a better approach. So I click and search for antibody and click evaluate. Then what happens now is we have the assessments being done, and then we have the answers to the questions. First, yes, signals. What are the signals? Describes plan for next-gen targeted therapies. There's recent patents about it. It's an excellent fit. Justifying bullets why. These are the reasons. Question 5, 1 sentence. So that's good. Describe the state. So we can see some specifics here. Most likely. So it doesn't mention it per se. It says it here. Not specified. And so on. Describe the scientific validation by multiple reasons demonstrating, etc. You could ask things for relevant for a CDMO, if you're a CRO, more relevant for a CRO, of course. No clear public information, then email 1, then a follow-up email based on my previous, I wanted to highlight blah, 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 then email 3, and then a short message for LinkedIn or for a partnering platform like Bio, etc. So all of that, it took literally 2 seconds to generate. You know, it gets even better. So now we're analyzing one profile, but let's say I have these 343 companies I want to assess. Or I want to go to a conference and I download the 4 or say 800 companies. You could make a query. It's easy to just turn in Excel with some ChatGPT help to turn a list of companies into a query with quotes, like here, with quotes around each name and separated by or. And then you have your 800 companies as a query, which you can then do an AI assessment, or you can just either filters, etc. That's also possible. But let's say we start here, we do a search, we filter. We can now have the bulk AI assessment. So I can evaluate up to 1,000 companies or up to 50 companies. 1,000 speaks for itself. You can do all the companies and then run your analysis, and then you have an Excel file as an output, which gives answers to any questions. I will do the first one because it's the same, but it gives some extra insight. Because the first one, you can go up to 50. It also generates the Excel file with individual profile evaluations, but it also creates a report. So let's say I do, just for the sake of the demo, then it goes quicker. I pick 20. I do the ask everything, and it still saves. It had this other one saved here because we already ran the analysis. If I make sure it was saved, so I don't have to fill this in anymore. It also remembers the query. So all I need to do is, what report do I want? I'm just gonna copy this here from something I just had quickly prepared. So it has some default information, but you can just adjust as you want. So I want to identify most interested in our offer. Sections, some background, a table, but for each criterion, a score. I don't even provide criteria, but you can even be as broad, but it's of course better if you say some specific criteria that are relevant for you. The best fit candidates, any trends, challenges, and so on. I click on evaluate, and now it will, the first, we selected 20, I think. First 20 companies will now be analyzed in parallel, doing this 10 questions. For each of those, it will generate the Excel file, and based on the outputs, it will then generate reports. While it's doing that, we will get a notification once it's ready. While we're doing that, and we can see it's in progress, there's another interesting approach to find companies. So we could see here, if we do preclinical studies, CRO, IND, enabling, we do it with quotes, and we tilde any two, meaning there can be two terms in between, studies and the preclinical stage, for example, it would be found in this way. So if I do that, we are looking at trends from all different countries. So we collect data from more than 13 different sources across the world, even translated from Japan. So we found 15,000 projects. So basically money going to organizations doing preclinical studies as part of the project. We could, of course, filter by which projects have started this year or starting next year. That's already more feasible. So 525. Now we can filter by company type. So that's, of course, an organization type. Or you can just say those with a company involved or with a biotech and so on. But I can just, with the AI, extract insights from individual companies. So I select all 525. And then I'll click the button, let AI add 20 questions, because I want to say we plus the CDMO, because I'm going to use this example here. We're just going to copy at the bottom. We seek biotech startups plus potential clients to help them in a variety of the ways as a world's leading CDMO. It'll help me figure out whether these projects focus on biologics being developed, the stage of development, and other qualification criteria. So it's pretty broad. You can be more specific as an expert in what you sell. I also want, so you can scrap what you want. I also want tailored cold email drafts. So if I basically just say what I want, I provide context, I let AI add 20 questions. The goal here is that all 525 projects can be analyzed by AI. So one by one will be analyzed, and each of them will be asked questions, up to 20 questions we can ask. And these then generate an output, an Excel file at this stage, where you can filter based on yes or no, whether the project is about development of a new biologic drug candidate. So you can then just say yes, and then you filter out all the noise. So in this way, you can create a custom data set of relevant projects that you want to reach out to. So you can see it gives IDs for what stage is it, what kind of modality. So it comes up with all these relevant questions for you that you don't have to think about. And of course, you can adjust, you can remove questions, things like that. There's multiple choice. There's yes, no. There's emails with certain frameworks that are being written. So if I just click show preview, it will analyze the first 5 projects. Based on those, we can see, are we happy with that? Do we want to adjust it? So here we go. The first project, that's the title. You can see what's the goal. It's unclear if it's about a biologic drug candidate, and the other ones, yes, and so on. So you can have a very quick idea of how relevant this is. I could have asked more open-ended questions as well, but now we focus on getting as much kind of quality data to filter. And then we have these emails, like an email here that's being written. Let's see the second one as well. So let's say we're happy with that. You can just click on downloads. So you can also go back and hit on edit question. And so you can then adjust your questions to get some more specific data points. One tip, for example, is if it gives multiple options like CNS or oncology, for example, therapeutic areas, and then one is other, you could say other and between brackets specify. That's very helpful because if it's not one of the listed options, it will say other, and then it will also specify which one. So it tries to guess like a good fitting categories, and that gives you a lot more insights as well in the next step. So as you can see, already 150 of the 500 are done in the past 15 seconds. So it goes pretty fast, asking all these 20 questions to each of those projects. So you have to wait. I will go, and we can see that the analysis of the companies is already done. So in notifications, I get this option here. I have an Excel file with the analysis, so I can see what was my query for each company. How did I find the companies? I can download the Excel file. That's happening on the background. I can see what did I want? What were my questions for the reports? And the Ask Anything, the specific report instructions. So you can see all of that. We have that as a for later on to repeat, for example. So you can copy and download and the report. We see an introduction about this topic based on these 20 company assessments. We see the methodology that was being used and then a ranking table. That's very interesting. It came up with different IDs here, criteria, like stage, the need for a CDMO, the fit for the Lonza offer. Are they already with the CDMO engaged, innovation alignment, and overall score? So it gives you for each criterion the score plus some short context. There's also some links to certain sources from which it's based on. So you can see immediately, okay, which ones are scoring well on certain criteria that are relevant to you. So we have that full overview. And then it gives a legend as well for the scoring, what it each means. We see some summary recommendations, top priority prospects, for example, excellent fit, strong interest, but indirect or niche, and so on. And then we have detailed assessments. Of course, we can't write a 10-page per company, but you can specify what you want. But here you can see an overview. What's the fit? What's the strength? What's the opportunities? For each of those, you have this quick overview, and you can go to the Excel file where you have the detailed analysis. It comes with some bonuses, let's say these trends and patterns that it finds across these 20 companies. So that can sometimes give interesting insights. We see some challenges faced by these biotech players in this area. We see the opportunities for Lonza in this regard, strategic recommendation. So yeah, all of that comes out of the box with this assessment and some other relevant insights and executives. So that's something you can just copy to Word and it will keep the formatting and so on. The download is a text file at this moment. So that's an example report. If I go to the companies, and that's the detailed Excel sheet. So for each company, you have a row with information on the location where they are, last funding rounds, the employees. We are working on getting more data about the leadership. We have the therapeutic areas, the modalities, the submodalities, the link to the profile, and so on, link to the website. But most importantly is this first column. And if I click on it and I open up this so you can best see it here in Excel. You're, by the way, working on a system that you don't need to use in Excel, but that it's in the platform visible. But here I can see it's answering the second one. What are these specific signals that they may need a CDMO? Based on our strengths, excellent fit. Justify, this is the justification. Describe the stage, preclinical and enabling stage. You see the specific information about the most advanced biologics assets with some specifics in there. The validation of that. We can see if there's any indication that they already work with a CDMO. Yes, refers to, here we go. So that already signals they might already work with someone. So we could rule out them for you. You have your 3 emails that are tailored towards what they do and what you offer. And then you have a short message to use on LinkedIn, for example, or you could have specified less than 280 characters. And that's something you have now for each company. So to now filter out which ones are now an excellent fit, we can just go to text filter with ask anything, say contain, and then we say excellent fits, and then 18 of the 20 are retained. And then it explains, it shows here, indeed, excellent fits. Same here, excellent fits, excellent fits. So that's an example of how you can then filter out the ones that are relevant, and you have your tailored emails and so on. And you can always go to the right here and specifically go to the profile to do some extra checks or get the contact details of the right people. So that is one approach. The other approach is with these projects, that's also finished. And that's the last part. So for the projects, what we see here is, so we analyzed these 525 projects, and these are all the questions we asked. That was the query or filtering that we used, the sorting, and then the link to go back to the results. Let's say if you want to repeat it again, but with the new results. So here we go. Every column is an AI answer column, and the rows are projects. So if I go to the right, here we go. These are the titles and the funding, etc., of the project, parties that are involved, the organizations, full description of the project, the keywords, the city and so on of the organization involved, link back to the source and the project itself. But more importantly, I have now here all these columns, AI answers, where I can just say those where it's yes, it's about a new biologics drug candidates. So now 91 of the 525 are retained. Now I can say if it's about a startup or early stage status. Yes, 44. You can then ask different stages about what is it lead optimization, IND enabling, and so on. What's the primary therapeutic modality? I can see the different options. I can filter by that. Therapeutic area, advanced, analytic. I forgot what was the question. You can go back to the questions, of course, here. You see the project duration. That was another question. The funding scale, the process development level. So all these things I can filter by now, which would otherwise be impossible. So one, we collect from all over the world all these funded projects. You find the relevant ones, and now you can custom filter them based on whatever is relevant to you. And then the ones you find relevant, you can see the specific emails, and you could simply wrap those. Here we go, and then open it up a bit. So we can then quickly see here what is the email that you could just copy paste. This framework is maybe not the best because it's literally now copying why you, why me. It should not be the case. So yeah, it depends a bit on how you frame. I didn't check how was the question framed. Now I want to be quick. It shows here as well a follow-up email. So it knows about this email as well. And then it follows up, knowing that, taking that into account. So yeah, for each of those, you have here a different email. But I would recommend to, before you do the full analysis, first check the questions and see where you need to optimize a bit. So yeah, the next step is we have all these projects. The next step is we go to the platform and, sorry, I was in the funded projects. I cancel. Now I export, click on export, I export the people, the participants. So I just find additional emails, and now it will find in 20 different email finder solutions the contact details of the people involved in those projects or leading the project. I can download Excel or CSV, and it will go find in all these 20 different email providers. It can find a valid email and send you the Excel file with all the different contact details. And then it's about doing a VLOOKUP and combining the data, the AI output, with then the contacts in that project. It needs help with that. Happy to help out, show you how to do it. Basically copy paste the data, the AI output, and then the Excel sheet of the contact output in a separate tab. I use a VLOOKUP function where you use the title of the project, for example, or the link of the project to then combine both or to bring the AI data in the sheet of the contact. But yeah, happy to show that how that works. Same with, let's say, if you have all kinds of companies from an event, you could just use a simple query that I can show you how to do it, where you can have all it up to 1,000 companies in here. You copy them, paste them in here, and then you can run the AI to analyze which ones are most relevant for you to meet. So a lot of options are possible. I'm here to help out at any time. So if you need help, send a message. Me or someone in the team will help you out. Happy to jump on one-on-one calls. You can do a free trial, 2 days free trial. If you're interested in the license and using this and to generate a lot more sales and make your life a lot easier and finding the right opportunities, get more people to reply to you, to get more people book a meeting with you. That's why our customers are using Academic Labs and succeed with that. And I'm here to help out during that process, because every new solution, it takes time, of course, to adopt something new. They can be concerned, will I be able to do it, and so on. That's why I'm here. I'm here to make sure on day one you get value. On day one, you have your list already, all your most interesting contacts, and so tailored email, for example. So that's what we do in the first day to make sure you get instant value. And step by step, we can expand those workflows to make your life easy and get them more and better results for you and for your organization. So you know where to find me on LinkedIn, on via email, at academiclabs.com. Happy to set you up with a trial or to grant you access to the platform. All right. Hope this helped and wish you all the best and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.